your point is, that came from a conversation from my wife and I.
Okay.
We went to New Orleans. We had a great time, and she said something. We got back, and she's from England, so she said something very, very smart. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna write a song, and you know what? It's gonna be. And your point is, because she said it like, and your point is really sarcastic, and that's what the song.
It's now time for local legends, past, present, and future on the 50+1 Production Network, sponsored by Perry Jenkins. I'm your special guest host, Atlas X, and today we have Dave Poe, producer and songwriter. Dave, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. Glad to be here.
Great. Well, once again, right here we are. You're considered a local legend. That's why you're here today down in the studio of Perry. And Dave, we just want to, start right. We're going to get right into it. How long have you been in the entertainment field?
Actually, I've been in the entertainment field for I would say probably about 40 years.
40 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you've seen a lot.
A whole lot.
In over 40 years.
Yeah.
Right. But let's go back to the origins. I always like to ask an artist, how did you get started? What motivated you just to become a musician? Right out, what was the thinking or what started that?
Well, actually, the motivation came because my family are full of musicians. My father and my uncles, they all played guitar, which they never taught me. I learned on my own. My sisters were singers. So we had a lot of music and the arts in our family. So that's basically where it came from.
Now, did you ever perform with your family?
Never. I have never performed with my family, which is amazing because my brothers play instruments, and it's just amazing. We never came together as a family to do it. So everybody got their own little things going on. So that's how they worked.
Wow. Okay. So a musical family. Mm-hmm. All right. And of course, when you think about musical families, we can all think about the Jackson Five, right? As far as, back then. Just curious, did you ever look up to any of the, when you think about the Jackson Five or back then, or just musical artists, just in general, was anyone that, as far as maybe was an inspiration for you, maybe as you were getting into besides the fact that your family, number one, you were introduced to music right there.
Right.
But then just like Michael Jackson talked about, James Brown was one of his major inspirations, But what about you as far as maybe anything at a young age? And what age did you really get into the music?
Well, actually, I didn't get into the music really heavy until I was actually in my teens. Mm-hmm. Prior to that, we was listening to a lot of Hendrix. James Brown was one of the main people. I used to be a dancer with a club, and we would get together and do steps, and we would dance to James Brown, all the artists that were out, during that time back in the early 60s. And that's really started, kind of trend that we used to do. But then when music came about, which, like I said, James Brown was influential on me too, because I love his music was so tight, and anybody could play James Brown could play.
Well, when we talk about James Brown, I mean, whether you're talking about someone from like Michael Jackson or Eric B. and Rakim, for anyone in hip hop who knows how many of his tracks were taken, or almost like it was a break beat, all right? But the Godfather of Soul definitely has had his mark in the music industry, and once again, a lot in the hip hop field. Dave, with that being said, we were talking off camera. How did you, I understand you have the name The Professor. All right. And I understand, how did you really fund, your desires as an artist, guitar artist at age 16?
Well, you know what, before I went into, I used to just, my mom bought me a guitar, and I was just to play at home. And finally, at the age of 16, 17, I actually formed a band, which was called Chaos from Philadelphia. We were one of their premier bands. At that time, Philly had a lot of gangs, and during that time was nobody playing. And then something changed where all the musicians came from gangs, rival gangs. And we started playing against each other, going to different neighborhoods, playing against each other. And it was great that happened, because we lost a lot of young people during the gang war age. And when everything took off with the music, it just changed the whole city. Now our fight was on actual playing instruments, which is so great.
Right. Now, with that being said, all right, and this time you are establishing yourself as a professor, right?
Right.
All right. And I understand that you do have another skill.
Right.
Okay. And what is that skill?
Well, actually, I am a professor of welding for CCP. and I teach people how to weld and get them jobs in the industry, building ships, building, if they go in space aeronautics, doing all kinds of different things for nuclear applications. So I teach them how to weld and be able to go get jobs for that.
All right. Now, what is your main instrument, Dave?
My main instrument is guitar.
All right. So here we have a guitar right here on set.
Right.
All right. And you already mentioned, so I'm just going to name a couple artists or musicians who have played the guitar. All right. And you already named one of my favorites. So I'm going to mention Jimi Hendrix, Purple Rain. Purple Haze, excuse me.
Haze.
Jimmy, one of my favorites of all time. Slash, of course, we all remember him with Michael Jackson, and of course, Slash's name stands alone by itself. Eddie Van Halen, B.B. King. All right. I'm also a big fan of Carlos Santana. All right. And even if some artists today, such as Tim Henson and Sophia Lloyd. So just naming those names, I know you pointed out Jimi Hendrix. What's your thought on any of those guitar artists I just mentioned right there? Anyone,
Well, really the influence, man, not for the newest ones, but you're talking about B.B. King. B.B. King was a monster. So we grew up on B.B. King. Hendrix set the standard for most guitar players to the day, by how he played and how he was able to sing and actually play and sing at the same time, because all the big people used to come and see him. Eric Clapton, you name any guitar player, used to come and watch Hendrix play live. Right. B.B. King, everybody wanted to learn how to play blues, so B.B. King set that standard for them. Okay, and that most of the new people slashing them, they're good. Eddie Van Halen is good because we know Van Halen.
Yes. Yes.
But when you're talking about really learning the instruments, those are the people we learn the instruments from.
All right. So it's one thing to learn the instrument, okay? And then it becomes perfecting the craft or perfecting the skill. And, there's something out there called the 10,000 hour rule that many people may know and some people may not know. And this rule can be applied to anything. It's 10,000 hours is saying, hey, if you put 10,000 hours into something, this gives you a chance to master that. Now, there's always some exceptions to the rules. You might be a musical prodigy or someone like a Stevie Wonder or a Ray Charles. But putting that aside, putting that 10,000 hours in allows you really to fine tune that. So when it came to you learning the guitar, all right, were you self-taught? Did you have an instructor? And how many hours do you think you've put into to master your skill, Dave?
Well, I am self-taught. I did wind up going to school. I went to University of Performing Arts for jazz guitar later on when I was 40. Okay, but when I started off, I learned everything by ear. Chicago, we learned any piece of music that was out there. Chicago, Earth, Wind and Fire, Santana, we played everybody. Osabisa, whoever was out there playing mandrill, we played all their music, and everything was learned by ear. So then later on, I decided to really get more serious with the guitar and actually learn what the mechanics were to play it. And I started getting sheet music and learning how to actually play the proper chords that were necessary to understand what this instrument is all about. I remember one time I was in the studio, somebody asked me to come perform with them in the studio. And the gentleman, the music director, was calling off chords. Well, by me learning by ear and never learning the chords, what the name of the chords were, it kind of got me out of I lost the performance because of that, because I knew what the chord was, but I never knew the technical name of it. So it made me go back and learn the guitar and study it a lot better. So if somebody calling off chords, I know exactly what they're talking about. So that's was a great blessing to actually go back and really learn what this instrument can do.
With that being said, when you think about keys or chords, we've got a keyboard right here, okay? So we talk about the mechanics, all right? And we probably have some people who might be listening who are interested in maybe becoming a guitar artist, all right? So what are the specific chords? Talk for a brief minute, Dave, about the mechanics of being a guitar player. What does that involve as far as learning the chords? What would that be?
Well, first of all, you got to commit. That's the first thing. Learn how to tune this instrument up, understanding how to tune it up, learning your frets, which are very important. Then you laying down chords and melody. So whenever I used to teach people guitar, and the very first thing I would teach them is how to tune it up. That's the very first thing. And once they learn how to tune it up, I would teach them the basic, which is C scale, and the C chord is the most important thing on any instrument. That's the very first thing we learn on any instrument that's being played, because it has no sharps and no flats. That's the easiest thing to remember. So when you're learning how to play guitar or keyboard, you want to learn the C scale. then you learn what the mechanisms are in the chord, and then learn the melody that goes with that chord. So it is a process, but you must learn what the instrument can do.
With that being said, by chance, is there any similarity between, say, the guitar and when you think about a violin? Just curious. I mean, just or some of the other musical instruments that maybe have some strings to them. Just bass. Just curious. Anything.
Well, they all basically the same. Everything everything derives from the keyboard. Okay, all instruments come from that main issue because the keyboard itself, is something you can look at. You can sit there, you can see it all in your face. It's different to see it on here. It has a different view of learning on here, but they all are tied in. They all we have what we have here called the West melodic scale, right? Could be like C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That's what we use here. That's our mechanism for use playing everything on music in the West.
Hey, could you say that one more time for the people out there listening? What is that
Yes.
called?
It's called the major scale. It's a C, D, E, F, G, right? A, B, C. That's a major scale. And that's what everything is based off of. So we learn everything, any instrument we play, keyboard, violin, bass, all of them are based off on that.
Now, let me, during COVID, all right, when that happened right there, a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, we were all watching documentaries on maybe Netflix or Hulu or something of that nature. And I remember watching an episode. Are you familiar with the producer, David Foster?
Yes.
All right. David Foster has worked with so many different artists and so many different hits, right? What do you think has allowed him to become such a hit maker? Does it have anything to do with just those certain chords? But when we just think about, the range of people David Foster has worked with, what are your thoughts on maybe what has allowed him to really go beyond 10,000 hours of mastering a skill?
Well, I would put, I like David Foster. He worked with some of the favorite groups that I like, Chicago, people like that, Earth, Wind and Fire. He's a good songwriter. He really is. But when I look at people on the level that I like, I look at Quincy Jones.
Yes, the master.
The master, Quincy Jones. I wish I could learn everything he does because he did it all. David Foster has not reached that level, even though he's a great songwriter, but he hasn't reached that level. Quincy has done from jazz to you name it, every type of music till now. That's why his music is so eclectic. When you hear him do a song, for instance, like the song "What's My Girl Tamia," who
Yes.
does "You Put a Move on My Heart." Well, most people don't know that's Ron Templeton from Heatwave that wrote that song. But Quincy put that song together so beautiful. He just have more to offer. David Foster, like I say, he's great. But if I had to pick somebody, it would be Quincy Jones.
And I'm just going to throw Dr. Dre in there from the hip hop standpoint. All right, obviously he's worked with hip hop artists and some R&B artists, but probably everyone sort of looks at the Godfather, in a way as far as being, as you're saying, Quincy Jones. Okay,
Right.
as far as that's concerned, right there. So let me shift gears for a minute. Let's just talk about some multi-talented artists that have played the guitar, and I'm just going to name two names. I'm going to start off with Prince. All right, and we know he's played everything, but also he's played the right here, the guitar itself. And now we have a newer artist by the name of Her. Any thoughts on either one of those?
I've heard her, and she's good. I've seen better. Reason why I say that because they have a female name. What's her name? Oh gosh, right on the tip of my tongue. Oh gosh, I can't remember. But this young lady, LaHavis, right? She's an awesome guitar player, great songwriter. And they a lot of these people come, like her, people come, with different females playing. They come after people like that, right? And these people who, been writing like that for a very long time, most people don't know about them, right? Her is just in the proper situation for her to be where she's at because it's like, a little bit of hip hop, a little bit of old school, and she's good. She's good, but there's a lot of females that came before her that's like Tracy Chapman,
Yes.
monster, a beast.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
so I look at people like that. Her is good, but you got to go back and you look at people who really, really made a way for all these females to actually come out there and do that type of music. So I look at her and it's cool.
Yeah, and even Alicia Keys, who's multi-talented, you know,
Keys, excellent.
she's playing the guitar, and and Taylor Swift even playing the guitar, you know, something, right? I mean, you know, she's got, you know, so she's doing her thing. But I agree with you when you sort of look back to the lineage
Right.
of, you know, the guitar itself
Right.
and what's going on. So with that being said, Dave, have you played any other instrument yourself, or is, you know?
I play I don't say I play every instrument per se. Like when I'm writing music, I'll play every instrument on on the keyboard. Like if I do horns, I do my own horn parts. I write everything. Bass, I do the bass. I do it out of necessity. My main instrument is guitar, so I build all the music around that. So I play everything. I do the keyboard, strings. That's the way it's, like Prince and all of them do. When they write music, they write the whole thing. They write a whole song. So that's my philosophy. I relate to people that actually do a lot of that, write their own music and be able to do everything. You can give it to musicians, say, okay, here, so I want you to play. I mean, me and Perry go back and we do that with other groups like D4 that we used to play with. Well, they're an awesome group, and but I know my music. So when I hand it to them, I have my bass parts all done, my keyboard parts done, drummer. I remember one time the drummer, we had a little thing because he thought the drum should go this way.
Right.
Right. And I said, well, that's cool, but that's not making the song swing. So I try to, when I try to write coming from a live background for people who play live, so I know how a drum's supposed to be if it's working on one of my songs. So this is what I try to install in them. I'm not taking away from what they're doing. I'm going to tell a drummer, well, listen, or a keyboard player or a bass player, this is my bass part. Turn it into something better. You make it come alive. That's what I want from you, your performance to make this piece come alive. So if they make it come alive, I'm all more happy.
Right.
Even if they added stuff in there, but it's alive and it's making the music move. That's what I want them to do because I'm not a bass player. I do it out of necessity. I'm not a keyboard player. Do it out of necessity. When a keyboard player can come in there and play something and it sounds awesome. But I've been told by bass players and keyboard players, who wrote your keyboard parts? They sound great. I tell them I do. They start laughing. So, it's cool.
Wow. Well, Dave, that's really great insight. Now, we know when it comes to making money in the business, that's about once you're in the studio, you put the track together, the next thing is you're going to actually go out and perform live in concert, and also you're looking to sell units, and that's the other way a lot of artists make music. So we're going to get into that on the next side of this episode, all right? So stay tuned. We'll be back with more of Local Legends, past, present, and future with Dave Poe.
Thank you. Right.
Dave,
huh?
play something.
That's funny. I had one guitar player.
Right.
He heard me play one of my songs, "Fly Away,"
Right.
and I just happened to go sit over some friend's house, and got to the friend's house, and he stopped me and said, "Hey, Dave, I've learned one of your songs." I'm like, "You learned one of my songs?" It was on the internet. He was listening to it. I learned one of your songs. I'm like, "Really?" And he thought I was gonna be upset about it. I said, "No." I said, "Which one did you learn?" He said, "Fly Away." I said, "I'll show you the whole thing." He went like, "What? You show me all your solo, everything?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll show you how to do the whole thing. Play it right."
Welcome back to Local Legends, past, present, and future. We've got Dave Poe as our guest today, and we also have a legend in his own right, Perry Jenkins. Perry, welcome to the set.
Glad to be here.
Dave, we were talking before the break about, what it takes to become a musician. But once you become that musician, you have to get out there and perform. I know you and Perry go way back.
Mm-hmm.
Perry, how did you meet Dave? Where did it all start?
All this started when we was teenagers up in Philadelphia. We used to get together every weekend at Dave's house. Me, him, another guy, Larry Allen, country, and we used to write songs. We went there faithfully, just like going to church every Saturday. And we wrote a lot of nice songs, and that had to be over 45 years ago.
Yeah.
All right. And for those out there listening to us right now, Perry Jenkins himself is an award-winning gospel songwriter, producer. Perry, tell us a little bit about your background when it comes to just being a songwriter and, how you actually became an award-winning gospel songwriter.
Well, I've been singing all my life, ever since I was like 9, performing at shows and stuff. And I was in elementary school in the 4th grade. I was in a glee club, and we were supposed to sing a Christmas song at Christmas time. And this girl was supposed to lead the song, but when it got time to do the show, she got stage fright and said she couldn't do it. So I asked the teacher, could I sing the lead? She said, do you know the song? I said, yeah. I sung it, and the rest is history. When I got through singing, she took me home from school and to meet my mother and told her that, I had a gift and all this stuff, and the school wanted to recommend me to the Philadelphia Boys Club and all that. They did, and I was accepted. So I traveled around with them for a while. And I had a couple uncles that had their own local bands and stuff and groups. And I asked them, could I come sing with them? So they always kept telling me, no, get away from here, kid. And so I asked my mom, it was a PAL talent show going on in Philadelphia through the city, police athletics club. And I entered that contest. I won like about 6 times, right on up to the finals. And after that, my uncle and all them started looking at me different. So they said, well, we can let you come sing at one of our shows. Well, we don't got no money to give you,
Right.
So I don't care about that. I was never like shy for singing and stuff. So one day they was playing at this club at 41st and Lancaster Avenue. I think it was called the BEF Club, if I'm not mistaken. And my cousin took me up there on public transportation. I got up to the club. They set me in the kitchen until it was time for me to sing. So I think I was around 10. And they kept telling me, don't be scared, don't be scared. I didn't know what they were talking about.
You were just a natural.
I said, just get out of my way when I get out there,
Wow. Now, Perry, with that being said, I was talking to Dave in the first segment, and he also comes from a family of musicians, musical family, and eventually your career evolved to where you were performing with your brothers.
Yes.
All right? And then eventually a solo career. So talk a little bit about your brothers for a minute that you were performing with.
My brothers, Donald and Curtis Jenkins, we always had great voices, singing, harmony and stuff. But by the time we got to the age of 12, 13, and 14, my parents had bought us some instruments. My grandfather bought me a guitar, and my mom bought my brother Curtis a set of drums and Donald a bass guitar. And the guitar that my grandfather bought me, I have never seen it again.
Okay.
It was a guitar that had the amp was built inside the case of the guitar.
Wow.
And that was the first instance we got. So it took us about a year and a half to get good enough to be going out and playing. And after that, we started playing all the clubs all over Philly. It was only 3 of us. We was called the Relations. And I guess because it was just a few of us, people would hire us for like 3 nights, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And, most of the bands was big, had horns and all that stuff like that. So we was cheaper, and they kept us working.
So eventually you evolved to get a solo career. And also, once again, you are an award-winning gospel songwriter. Tell us a little bit about that, Perry.
Well, I started writing songs when I was with my brothers and them. And I was working at working on this store up at 24th and Mars one time, and the owner of the store, came out. He was talking to me outside. He started talking about music, and I started telling him about my group, and then I let him hear some of our stuff, and he was so impressed. And he told me that his father was Al Bell, who was the owner of Stax Records. It was his right-hand man, his father. So he told his dad about us, and his dad said, send them down here. So we packed up. My cousin Lenny Williams, he was in Ohio. So I called him and asked him to come to Philly. I wanted him to go down there with us. So we went to the Stax Records, and we got down there. They picked us up and took us on a little tour, showed us where Martin Luther King got killed at, and showed us Graceland and all that stuff. Then we went to the studio, and we got in the studio. We met all these artists. A group called the Mad Lads, which most of all their material, we sung that anyway. Mad Lads, Isaac Hayes, and Rance Allen we seen in there. Anyway, so the next day, they on the Barcades, we met them in there too. They took us, went to the studio, so they sent a producer down. It's a producer, I can't think of his name right now, but anyway, he wrote for him, and I think it was Isaac Hayes wrote for Sam and Dave and a lot of their stuff. So we recorded one song that the producer wanted us to record, and then they asked us, did we have anything we want to record? So I said, yeah. So I recorded 2 songs that I wrote. And after we had put the music down, and I was down there singing lead, and when I looked up in the window in the control room, I seen multiple people up there, and that was the Mad Lads and Isaac Hayes, and them was all in there shaking my brothers in them hand. So going that far, I thought, okay, we didn't reach the goal with success, We got back home, we was all happy and stuff, but right around that time, Al Bell was going through some problems with, I think it was Columbia Records. Columbia, they had their distribution company, and they had fallen out, and I think Columbia sued them and took their distribution company, and that went down the drain.
Right. So eventually, I believe you told me Offset in 2009. All right. Is that when you actually won for the gospel song that you wrote? Was that?
Well, I met this group called the Heaven Bound Gospel Singers. They was an a cappella group. So I decided to write music for them. So I produced their first CD and wrote the title song was called Like a Palm Tree. And there's a award show called the Just Plain Folks Music Awards, which is put together by Taxi, what's the other? Disc Makers and CD Baby. And there was probably 200,000 people at this award show. So the guy called me. He said, we've been trying to get in touch with you because this project you wrote for the Heaven Bound Gospel Singers is up for an award, the CD. So he said, we wanted you guys to come down here to Tennessee to sing for that genre of music on the show. So I got in touch with them. So everybody agreed. So we flew to Tennessee, and they performed. The CD came in second place, but the song was Like a Palm Tree was up for Song of the Year, and I won that.
Well, that's great, Perry.
2009.
That's tremendous. And, when it comes to, say, songwriting and performing, as Dave mentioned in the first segment, Quincy Jones being the master, behind the scenes, you also have produced some work with Dave. And Dave, I want to specifically ask you about a couple songs and videos that Perry was involved with, along with your partner, Jesse. Let's talk about And the Point Is, Fly Away, all right, Between Friends, all right. These are songs. So tell us a little bit about those songs, what motivate you to maybe write those songs. And I know Perry had something to do with the production of that.
Fly Away was the first one we did on the video. That song was written. I was actually, it was a practice song. I was learning how to do smooth jazz. And I was working on this tune, and everything just came together, and it turned into a really great song. And so down the line, down the line, I was home one day, and I was just sitting home chilling with my feet up. Perry called me and said, "Dave, we're gonna shoot a video on you." I'm like, "Shoot a video for who?" Right? He said, "Now." I had to get dressed, run out my house, and we did that video, and we did the Fly Away song on the video. That's how that took off to do what it had to do, which was really great. Because, was somebody else supposed to do that spot. And they had already set up, him and Jesse already set up, like, we're going to go get Dave and call him. And I wasn't ready for that, but I had a ball. I was terrified, to be on the camera. I'm like, Jesse had to talk me down, Perry said, "Dave, you all right?" And that was I had a great time in learning about, filmmaking and actually applying songs to that. Your point is that came from a conversation from my wife and I.
Okay.
We went to New Orleans. We had a great time, and she said something. We got back, and she's from England, so she said something very, very smart. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna write a song. And you know what? It's going to be, and your point is, because she said it like, and your point is really sarcastic. Yeah. And that's what the song came.
And we know a lot of times, artists, this is where songs come from sometimes,
Yes.
Different situations, from
Yes.
that standpoint. So that's how that happened, huh?
That's how the song came about. Between Friends,
Yes.
it was about all of our friends. And we've been together for years, all of us knowing each other. And, that's something that happened, that's one of his favorite songs. And I just happened to be sitting there playing it, man. And the whole song came together, and that's what I named it, Between Friends.
Wow. Now, Perry, with that being said, you have 50+1 Productions, and it's you and also Jesse, all right? So tell us a little bit about, you and Jesse working with Dave. How did that collaboration go?
Well, it's not just me and Jesse. Dave, George, and a host of other friends and writers and stuff. We all collaborate and write stuff together. And Dave's being modest. Dave is a great songwriter and singer too. So he's written several songs on a couple of my projects for my group, and I depend on him.
Okay. Well, that's how sometimes, you do have artists who come together to collaborate, all right, number one, in performing. And then there's also the actual performing, all right? Dave, I know you have performed at Wiggins Park, right, in Camden, New Jersey, all right? But you also have performed with other artists. So, Dave, who have you performed with, okay? You know what I mean? And some of the things you've been on,
It's crazy. Well, this going back a little bit. I remember we used to work with Donald Robinson. Donald Robinson from one of the old groups that we used to play against. What was it? Bittersweet. And a lot of them went to school and they studied. They went to school like I did at the Performing Arts. Yep. And he, I used to do a lot of work with him, background vocals, singing for Joanna Gardner. We did her song called Pick Up the Pieces, which was a hit. And I sung background for that. And I worked with Eugene Wild. He was the one that did the song, what was the piece called?
Gotta Get You Home.
Gotta Get You Home Tonight. Don't Say No Tonight. We opened up for the OJs. It's a lot of people, I can't name them all, but, I did a lot of work with people, on a regular basis. And it was pretty cool to do that, meet these artists. When I went to college, I got to meet a lot of artists in college and, learned a lot from different people, Pieces of a Dream, people like that. And it was really cool. So,
Now, just curious, Perry, I know you've worked helped producing Dave. Have you guys ever performed together or thought about performing together?
Yes, we have.
Mm-hmm.
We played at Wiggins Park on play behind my group, Dave, Bill Jolly, and quite a few other musicians on the show with Hezekiah Walker and Tyrone Tribbett,
Mm-hmm.
and several people. So we played at several churches together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Perry, once again, you have performed with your brothers. You're also a solo artist yourself. And tell us a little bit about some of maybe the artists that you have performed with, you and your brothers, or even you as a solo artist. Who have you performed with?
Well, me and my brothers, when we was at the group Galaxy, we opened up for Jeffrey Osborne, Denise Williams, Four Tops, GQ, Pieces of a Dream. So we played on a lot of TV shows, dancing on air and stuff when our record was hot on the Billboard charts. And that was with Galaxy. And as far as me and my brothers were concerned, we played with a lot of people also, you know.
Wow. Okay. Now, Dave, the name of this show, which is Perry's show that he's, producing here, is Local Legends Past, Present, and Future.
Mm-hmm.
So when we look at what's happening right now, okay, in the present, and maybe almost like when you think about some sports, or you may have your eye on somebody, okay? A lot of us probably thought that Tevin Campbell, for example, and Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones got their hands on him, that Tevin was just he started rising up, but then he, dropped off, but you just thought that was going to be the next prodigy, coming under the Michael Jackson, Quincy Jones tutelage, all right? Mm-hmm. So with that, just using that as an example, Dave, who do you see right now? Maybe any artists, musicians out there, guitarists that maybe you say, hey, presently, and maybe look like they've got a high ceiling. Anyone stand out to you?
Well, I mean, it's I like all types of music, so that goes across the board. When I see like artists that plays live and can produce, get on stage and really play what they do on the albums. Right now, my favorite is Bruno Mars, because Bruno Mars, his band is freaking awesome, and when they come, they come.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Interesting that you say Bruno Mars. I think he's originally from Hawaii. Correct me if I'm...
Originally he is.
Right, from Hawaii. And he does have a tremendous show. He's actually performed at the Super Bowl halftime.
Mm-hmm.
Bruno's out there,
A couple times.
Mm-hmm.
A couple times?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Bruno's definitely has, been out there, and he's really hot, when you really think about someone right there. Perry, what about yourself? When it comes to, current artists or maybe doing something now, or perhaps, as you see the, moving forward, any particular artists, any genre stand out to you right now?
Well, because right now my genre is gospel. I follow a lot of gospel artists like Fred Hammond and Marvin Sapp.
Wow, those are two big names right there.
Right.
All right. So when you think about those, and of course, I told you once before, one of my favorite gospel artists going way back, is the Clark sisters. All right. Mm-hmm. One of my favorites. Okay. But also Yolanda Adams. Mm-hmm. All right. We can't forget about her, BB and CeCe Winans, Minister Keith Pringle, just to name a few of those particular gospel artists, So with that being said, Perry, you have produced. Let's talk about some of the things that have, when we look up here, we're in your studio right now. This is where it all starts, right here in his studio. All right. I see some pictures up on the wall over there to your right, Perry. Why don't you tell us a little bit about some of those artists that you have worked with in the past?
Well, the Heaven Bound Gospel Singers, I did 3 projects on them. That's the group I won the award for. They was very good. And Ron James, which is my uncle, he was the lead featured artist on the Galaxy project when we first started. And who else we got over there? We got Roger. I did a solo project on him.
Got it. And Dave, do you also know Roger?
I got credit on his album that I never played on.
Okay.
because we don't play so much together. Uh-huh. Like, every album that he has up there, I'm playing on every one.
Okay, so you have a lot to do with this.
Yeah, so I mean, because, like I said, Perry would come and get me because we've been working together so long. And like, if he say, Dave, I need you, I'm going to be there. This is what we've been doing for a long time. It's because of him, I have a song on Capitol Records. Because I did a song with a few people, friends of mine, and we did a song called Brainy Children for a group called High Fashion. And they were just coming out of New York City. The album came out it's called Feeling Lucky. And that was their hit song. And they put Brainy Children on the B-side. And it's because of him, because he called me when they said, Dave, he said, somebody wants to do your song. Like, what song? We had just recorded in the studio. He said, Brainy Children. He came and got me, took me to New York, me and a few other people.
Okay.
We got $300 and I split it 6 ways. And we went there. We met Luther Vandross. We met Kashif. We had a ball. It was and I just missed one of my favorite guitar players, Earl Clue. I just missed him. He just finished recording there. But it was great. And that was one of the things I cherish right now, having that song. And that song's been played everywhere, on a hit record. And that was really cool, and it's because of him.
And how that came about, this group, they were starting a new group, what's the name of them?
High Fashion.
High Fashions. Mm-hmm. So I got a call and told me to come to New York. They wanted to see me. I thought they wanted me to join this group. When I got there and talked to the owner, he said, no, I'm interested in the song Brainy Children. I said, oh, you're talking to the wrong person. Those are my friends that wrote that. So I took them back up there the next week to meet the guy, and they used the song.
That's great. And, a lot of times, I think about my background in the entertainment field, sometimes, it's just being in the right place at the right time, sometimes having the right contact, or in this case, you were already there and were able to refer Dave, and that's how it happens sometimes, you know what I mean? And a lot of times you do need help, getting from point A to point B in the industry. And it's great if you give back, to the industry and not just hold it all for yourself, you know what I mean? Right. And work with some other artists. So with that being said, music is international, right? So Perry, you and Jesse have a new talent that you're working with by the name of Lady Eliz. I'm not sure if Dave has done anything there with her on any tracks. So tell us about Eliz, and if Dave has anything to do. What's happening with Lady Eliz? Where is she from, and what's going on?
Lady Eliz is from the Philippines, but she lives in Japan. And she was a Mariah Carey impersonator over there. And she was doing a lot of top 40. Jesse met her when he was over there, when he was in the service. He became friends with her. So she had called Jesse and asked him, said she wanted to do her own project. And she wanted to come to the United States to do it. So she sent him some of her music, and he came to me and told me the story and told me to listen to it, asked me would I produce it. So, she had one song called You Are My Friends, and it sounds like a gospel song. So that kind of drew me to it. So I said, yeah. So we worked on me, Dave, George, and some of the friends, Lawrence Robinson, George McKnight, and all the guys that be down here. A lot of old cats, we hang down here and make music, and do the right.
Okay.
But we're all involved. A lot of people involved with that project.
Yep.
And we got her over here, and we did the project. It came out great, and she's very talented and a very, very nice person. So.
And when it comes to, the music business, another way, okay, when we talk about how artists make money, I talked about, selling units. I talked about performing, live in concert. Also, we have soundtracks for movies or TV shows. And amazingly, you were able to get Lady Eliz on a film, Jesse was working on a project out of Atlanta. Tell us a little bit about that, Perry.
Well, Jesse, he be shooting a lot of different films. That's from the film side of 50+1. And he tries to get, anybody involved with on anything he can get on, So he was lucky enough to get her to do a couple screenshots on a couple different movies. They haven't been released yet, so,
Okay. So, but it's in the works.
Yeah, she was on one of the movies. She was singing on there with the boy Tony Terry.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So, before we get ready to wrap up this episode, Perry, often you've mentioned to me one of the local legends, Bill Jolly. All right. And Dave, I'm just curious, have you and Dave ever collaborated together with Bill? And Dave, are you familiar with Bill Jolly?
Oh, yeah, we and Bill Jolly go way back. I remember I used to see him walking down Penn's Landing with a little keyboard. He would play it all day long, sit on the edge of the dock and just play his thing. That's how I knew him, basically like that. Some other close friends of ours that are musicians knew him. I knew him through that. Bill Jolly's been, We just been working. That's just how stuff happens. No formal introduction until later on, till we start working together in this project with Perry, doing gospel and things like that. So I work very close with Bill Jolly.
Well,
Yeah.
Perry, why don't you let us know? Tell us some more about Bill Jolly for those who may not know who he is.
Bill Jolly is very well known worldwide. He played with a lot of, I think he was a music director for Celine Dion. He was the music director for
Grover
Grover
Washington.
Washington,
Mhm.
as well as Teddy Pendergrass,
Mhm.
and a host of other people. He plays on everything and for everybody. And he's been like that for years. And me and his relationship go back over the early 80s, because I used to use his band, the production band, to play behind Galaxy on different shows and stuff. And he's just one of the nice guys. He'll never change. He's the same way every time you see him.
Yep.
And he's super talented.
Wow. With that being said, Dave, do you have any new work you're working on that you want to let anyone know about right now?
Well, it's still in the making. I'm hoping to release my very first smooth jazz complete album. So that's where I'm spending time when I have time from school. When I'm not in school teaching welding, I'm spending my time doing the music. So it's been a heavy load to do, but I want to do it, and produce this album and put it out. And that's where I'm working towards doing that now.
Wow. Okay. And we talk about smooth jazz, and when we just think about, just jazz itself, some people may talk about John Coltrane. My cousin, big John Coltrane fan. I've listened to some John Coltrane. Just curious, what type of style? And you can go from way deep into the lab with a John Coltrane. Some people know a Najee. It's a wide range spectrum when you think about some of the, the jazz artists. What about Miles Davis? You know what I mean? Anything about different things? Just where are you at when it comes to jazz right now?
Well, put it like this, going to school and studying, actually literally studying music in school, we, had to learn about everybody. Smooth jazz is a lot of different things that goes into smooth jazz. Your influences. I'm influenced by a lot of different types of music. So when I write smooth jazz, right, you can hear Earl Klugh maybe going on. You can hear, different guitarists playing different things, keyboard players, Joe Sample, all these different people. Straight ahead traditional jazz is a whole different medium. Smooth jazz, you're allowed to hear quite a few different types of influence in it. That's why I love reggae. So I have a song that I did reggae groove to, and it's smooth jazz tune. So it depends, but it's all done by influences, not straight ahead jazz.
Got you. With that being said, Perry, besides, working with Lady Eliz right now, once again, you are a gospel artist yourself, all right? You have a solo career, okay? So, Perry, do you have any new projects or albums you're looking to release coming out?
Yes, I have a new project coming out. It's being called Survivor. It's a song that Dave brought to me. And, he's the co-producer on this project here.
And what's the lead track?
The lead track is Survivor.
Okay, so that's the actual lead track.
Yeah, and that's the song that Dave wrote. And also I have some other stuff coming out, going to be on there with some other writers like Lenny Williams and Lawrence Putt Robinson, great bassist, These are all the people, we come down here and make it work.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it right there from a local legend, Perry Jenkins, Dave Poe. Dave, I really appreciate you being on this episode of Local Legends, Past, Present, and Future with the man himself, Perry Jenkins.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Perry, it's really been a great time here. We look forward to some more episodes of you working with some other artists. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today with Local Legends, Past, Present, and Future. I'm your special guest host, Atlas X. Once again, Dave Poe, Perry Jenkins. We're out.